All right, last week we were joined by a whole army of volunteers. You can see them all there sharing. Well, there's actually a few more than what was here in the end, but a whole army of us enjoying dinner after the event. We actually took part of the Oswestry Christmas Parade. Now, Oswestry in the UK and England, right on the border of England and Wales, is where our museum is, our Creation Research Centre facility, and we took part in the Christmas parade. It was early in the morning. It was about -5 degrees. It was freezing cold, quite literally, but it was great fun to get out and to actually walk around the town. It was a couple of miles, and we were in costume, and we had a great big float, and it was just great fun. You can see our dinosaur costumes there. We had Anglo-Saxon warrior. We had St. George who was around. There's our float. One half looked tropical dinosaurs, the other half Christmas dinosaurs. Promoting the Creation Research Centre in the museum, which the whole upstairs area is going to be open next year. So we're looking forward to that with a QR code system which takes you around and gives you, on a virtual tour of the museum as you go around. We had the giant blow-up dinosaurs and the dinosaur riders, which were a huge hit. There you can see there one of our young volunteers. Pretty good illusion, really. And then in the background, you can just about see St. George, who was keeping an eye on all of the dinosaurs / dragons, along with his Saxon warrior friend. So it was really it was really appreciated and well loved by all the people who came to watch. And of course, we were handing out not only tracts and leaflets, but also information about the museum and it being open. In fact, over on the right-hand side, you can see our Triceratops, who was the greatest of all of them because he would run up and high-five people and declare to them that he was made by Jesus Christ and they should come and see the evidence of God's creation in the museum, which was fabulous. And then you can see the great pink thing, which is Dave the axolotl. Now, it's interesting because we actually have an axolotl in our museum collection, a real one, right, which is fantastic. And he's actually become a little bit of a local celebrity in the sense that he's almost as well known as our dinosaurs now, just because of how recognisable he is. So we dressed up poor Susie in the axolotl costume, and he was a huge hit as he went around the town as well, and people could recognise him. It was just a great fun time for all of us. It was a fun time for everybody. Really raised awareness as well of the museum. So we had a great fun time. We had Roman soldiers there as well. But after that, or it was immediately after that, Sarah Ann and I packed our bags for a little brief holiday, first sort of holiday together for over a year, just a brief little break before Christmas, but we headed over to Germany, where we're in Leipzig. And it's been a little bit of a break, which is where I am now. But being creation research, well, I at least couldn't resist doing a little bit of research while I was out there. And this kind of stuff seems to just sort of come across you as you travel. We actually visited Leipzig Zoo today. Now, Leipzig Zoo is, I have to say, one of the best zoos that I've been in, and if not the best zoo that I've ever been to. And I've been to a lot of zoos. I worked as a zookeeper for several years, and it was just absolutely fantastic. And they have a whole section which they called Gondwana Land. Now, if you know your sort of geological history or your sequences, you've got this kind of idea that over millions of years you have a one land mass Pangea which breaks up, and by the sort of middle Jurassic kind of time you have Gondwana, which is where the four major continents, you've got North, South America, Africa, and Australasia, are kind of splitting apart. Now, biblical picture, we're talking about breakup during the latter part of the flood. But still, what they've done is they've taken this concept, because what was really interesting is the original founder of it, Dr. Professor, who came from the local university, was actually geologically trained. He was had a background in geology, and you can really see that the zoo has been designed from the mind of a scientist and not so much from the mind of a businessman, which makes it a real joy to kind of go around and see. But they've kind of featured this Gondwana land as a kind of, look, we're going to build an enormous greenhouse, hothouse, right? I mean, I'm talking like airplane hangar, like, massive, huge, great big thing. We're going to have massive trees in it. We're going to have a platform 120 feet tall, which people can climb up to and look out over the jungle canopy. We're really basically replicating an entire tropical jungle inside, in the middle of Germany. But we're basing it around this idea of Gondwana, right? So you've got your sections where you've got your Australasian creatures, you've got your sections where you've got your South American, sections where you've got your African, and so on and so forth. It was just fabulous place. But what was interesting is the entranceway that they took you into. They kind of took you back through some sort of geological history. Now, there was lots and lots of talk of millions of years and so on and so forth, but there's very little talk about evolution. In fact, as a biological sense, in fact, I was actually quite surprised, because as you go through, you go down through the tunnel, and there's the volcano and the continents splitting apart, and then they came across a rather interesting area. So here you can kind of see inside that big tall tree in the background, by the way. It's a sort of an artificial tree, but that's about 120 foot tall, high up above. So it's a huge, great big thing that you can kind of see out over the top of the canopy. Beautiful flowers and bromeliads and all sorts of stuff, almost as good as Jurassic Park. But look at what they had in this underground section. Living fossils. Living fossils are representatives of animal and plant groups that have been existing on Earth for many millions of years. They have hardly changed in appearance in the course of evolution. Today, the majority of living fossils inhabit limited areas, and their ancestors were widespread on our planet. What they then went on to do, which I think was I got very, very excited, as my wife will tell you, they began to show you not only the fossil examples from the local area, because of course we're in Germany, some of the best living fossils in the world come from Germany, from the Messel Formation and the Solnhofen, and they had these fossil examples along with the actual living creatures that are alive and well today. Things like these weird-looking fish that kind of float in one way. We actually have fossils of these in our museum. The lungfish, the Australian lungfish, again, classic living fossil, found in the Messel Formation in Germany. Beautiful, great big creatures, and they had them here being promoted as living fossils. Fascinating stuff. The spotted gar, which they have garfish in the Messel Formation as well. And then I was particularly excited to see these guys, a whole load of horseshoe crabs. First time I've seen horseshoe crabs in a zoo, in an aquarium kind of thing. I had to take the selfie with them, right? Beautiful, great big creatures, really graceful as well. And you can just kind of see them moving their way along the floor there. And just amazing living fossils, which of course perhaps most famously come from the Solnhofen, and we have examples of these, and now John has in his collection as well, of these beautiful living fossils. So it was amazing to see an entire section about living fossils, and you could kind of see where this guy's geological background was coming out, mixed with his knowledge of animals as well, because, we have long said that living fossils are one of evolution's biggest kept secrets, because they really don't show any evidence of evolution at all. In fact, it doesn't matter how old you want to make the rocks, as old as you want to make them, whether it's a few thousand years, or in the case of the Solnhofen, about 155 million years, or in the case of some of the other Jurassic deposits, 175 million years. Doesn't matter how old you want to make the deposits. All you can prove is that for as long as these creatures have been around, they've been doing exactly what God told them to do, which is reproduce after their own kind. 10 times in Genesis chapter 1, it says that God reproduced things according to their kind and to reproduce after their kind. And if God says something once, you ought to pay attention. If God says something 10 times in one relatively short chapter, he's really trying to drive a point home. So do pay attention to him in particular, and don't be surprised when the fossils actually back that up for sure. Brief little mention just to bring my report to a close before we go on to Diane and then on to Glenn. A few years back, I started up a blog, but it never really went anywhere because I don't have time to sit down and write blog posts. But what I have done in the last couple of weeks is start a Telegram channel. If you're not familiar with Telegram, it's a sort of similar thread to WhatsApp, and there's various different features on it. It's one of the more secure messaging services. But what you can also do is create a channel. And so basically you subscribe to it, and you can see updates from me. You can see prayer requests. You can see where where I've been. You can see what I've been doing in the Ministry of Creation Research. So scan the QR code on your screen, or go to the link, or you can go to Telegram and download it. It's free to get, and then just search for Joe Hubbard Creation Research or Indiana Joe, and I should come up there. So do go and check that out. And follow me on my travels and where I'm going, and you'll see prayer requests and all sorts on there, so you can follow the ministry that God has called us to. So